Hi friends, it's Kristine Vicente and I'm back today with another beautiful sneak peek of some product that's going to be released on September 3rd, 2025. This is part of the online exclusives that are releasing around the same time as the September to December 2025 mini catalog from Stampin' Up. And this product line is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to share it with you. It's called Elegant Pine Snowflakes. So it's combining pine and snowflakes, which are two of my favorite holiday themes to craft with. And so I can't wait to share the project that I'm gonna make for you today and also give you a closer look at what's included in this collection. So let's get started. Okay, so the Elegant Pine Suite collection is what I'm going to be showing you, and this is not a collection of product that you'll find in our new Stampin' Up! September to December 2025 mini catalog. It is not in the catalog. It's actually an online exclusive collection that's coming out at the same time. So this will be released on September 3rd, 2025, and you'll have access to these products at that point. In the meantime, I wanted to give you a little close-up of it and show you what you can expect. I love snowflakes and I love pine, and I knew I would love them combined. I just didn't realize how much. I'm going to show you some sample cards that I made. A lot of times when I get product like this, what I do is I just kind of focus on this product. I try not to bring in a lot of other things from other collections or other bundles or whatever. I try to just use what I have right here, because not only does it create samples that are dedicated to these products, but it also helps me to focus on what I'm doing. I don't get so distracted by other goodies. So it's a little bit easier to design at times when I'm limiting myself in terms of color and patterns and whatnot. So let me give you a closer look at this. It's a beautiful photopolymer stamp set that has two different size pine snowflakes. There's pine sprigs, there's pine cones, there's smaller insert pieces that you can put within the middle of these stamped snowflakes. There's a couple of really beautiful sentiments. Celebrate the season, warmest wishes, and it's the most magical time of the year. I love those. I think they can be interchanged, whether you put them on the outside or the inside of the card, or you can mix and match them. So I love that. These are also really pretty for scrapbooking. I think you could make some beautiful scrapbook pages with these elements, especially since down here in the South, we don't really get a lot of snow, but the pine snowflakes make it more accessible to Southern winter scrapbooking. Because we don't get a lot of snow, we still have the evergreens down here, and it would just make for some really beautiful wintry scrapbook pages, I think, especially since a lot of people like to hike in the winter. It's cooler, a little easier to get around, and because we don't have the deep snow, there's no worry in the woods about getting stuck or anything. So anyhow, just an idea. But let me show you the dies that coordinate with this. So I love this die set, and our dies do not come on these magnet sheets. I actually put them on the magnet sheets, but when I do that, sometimes I like to separate them. So what I've done is I've separated them into, these are some of the detail images. I kept these together because they go with the snowflakes, but these are detail images. So you can die cut little details to include in your snowflake designs. And then this sheet is all outlines. So these cut the shapes that you stamp. These will cut out those shapes. So like, for example, this is a pine sprig that we're actually going to be using on today's card. We're going to be using this pine sprig, this beautiful little leafy sprig that's just a detail die, and then also the pine cone. I cut a couple of these, and this is a layered pine cone. So this has a background image, background layer, and then this is the detail layer that goes over top. So you get a two-tone pine cone. And then these little pine sprigs are actually meant to go inside as a layer inside the snowflakes, but I use them as a little extra element to the card, and I'll explain that a little bit when I show you how I put my card together. So this is the die set, so it's excellent. Lots of variety there. And then the stamps, and then we have some beautiful embellishments, these beautiful star embellishments are gorgeous. They're super sparkly. They come in 3 colors, clear, shaded spruce, like a beautiful blue, dark blue green, and then the red, like real red or cherry cobbler. They're gorgeous. And this ribbon is also very, very pretty. This is a 1 inch, I believe. Oh, 7/8 of an inch, so almost a full inch of shaded spruce ribbon with a beautiful metallic gold edge. So very, very pretty, and a large size. So we'll definitely make a statement. And it's also great for gift wrapping. And then, of course, as usual, the star of the show is the paper. And I think scrapbookers are going to love this as well as card makers. So we've got this beautiful pine snowflake sheet that has some larger pine. This one is a smaller image, but I think it's very pretty anyway. Really, really pretty little winter botanicals. This is some more of those pine snowflakes in a smaller size. This sheet's gorgeous with the different types of winter greenery that are stunning on the black background. Here we go, this sheet again. I already showed you this one. This is some pine cones with some of the smaller snowflakes and some sprigs. And then we have another black background with more of the snowflake imagery rather than the botanical imagery, but they're all botanicals really because they're all made of pine and different types of sprigs. And then on the back side, we've got these. And this is like a pretty peacock color. This is the old olive with a little bit of splatter. We've got some garden green snowflakes, like white snowflakes on a garden green watercolor background. We've got a little frosty background here. This is like frost on a window or on a surface in a peacock. Then we have some beautiful garden green another garden green snowflake background. I'm sorry, shaded spruce. And then we've got some more of that frost. And then these 2 sheets in the back of these is more frost, but in a garden green color. So really pretty back sides that could be useful, as well as the gorgeous A sides of this paper. Just stunning. Absolutely love it. I think it's beautiful. And really, the paper can be the star of the show. And I'll show you a card example of what I mean by that when we get into the making. So the card we're going to make today really is a card that is true to my natural card making. And I love to do these kind of clean and simple card designs where I use a white card base with a textured white panel on top, and then I create a little cluster and a sentiment. That's kind of my standard go-to when I'm making cards, and I really love this style. So as I had mentioned, I've layered the the pine cones here. I have a crumb cake base with a pecan pie detail that I layered together. I've got a couple of the pine sprig dies that I cut out, and these are in Mossy Meadow as well as a Mossy Meadow sprig. And then I stamped in Mossy Meadow and die cut this little panel. And so now what we're going to do is I've already embossed this layer, and I used the Damask embossing folder. This is actually I believe this was an online exclusive, or it's in our annual catalog, but it's a very pretty kind of a standard embossed background. So I have a card base that's basic white thick, measures 11 by 4 1/4. We're going to fold that in half at 5 1/2, and it's going to be a side folding card, but it's going to be this landscape style. So let's go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of this layer. And whenever I add an embossed layer to my card base, I like to put some extra adhesive all the way around the edges because I don't want it to bubble up on the sides. So there we go. So that layer's all done. Now we're going to take and we're going to stamp the sentiment for this card. And I chose Celebrate the Season. So this is just a 1/4 inch panel, little strip. And I'm going to take my snips here and trim this off like that. And then when I initially built this, what I like to do is I like to lay my sentiment about where I want it. And then I start layering kind of the components that I want onto the card. So when I first started, I thought this would be kind of a nice, and so I made myself a pine cone and just did like one. But I just didn't think that filled in the card enough. I felt like it needed more. So then I added another pine cone. And then I thought, well, that's a little bit too much brown. And so then I took some of these pine sprigs and made them. And what I'm going to do is just kind of fold them in half on the diagonal so they sort of stick out. And then I filled those in on the sides. So I just kind of folded them at an angle so they splay. And then just sort of tucked them in on the edges. And then I felt like that's enough of a little cluster. And so now all we have to do is go ahead and glue these together. So I'm going to just lay a strip of adhesive right down onto my base, and I'm going to add the components a little bit at a time. I'm just going to layer them together. And then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of the pine cones and tuck these in to my little cluster. And these I'm going to overlap a little bit with each other. And then I'm going to take, now that this is mostly built, I'm going to take and add my dimensional adhesive to the back of my sentiment strip. So I'm going to go with a large dimensional. I'm going to do 3 of them right in the center of this. And that will give me room on the edges to tuck in those little pine sprigs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm lining this up with the bottom edge of the card so it's nice and straight, and I want it to be flush with the right edge of the card, just like that. And there's still room to tuck these in. So I could use liquid adhesive. I'm just going to use a little bit of this tape runner because this is fine. And these I'm going to tuck in right underneath the sentiment strip. Like that. And then this one too. This makes a very quick and easy card. There is quite a bit of die cutting on it, but it's worth it, I think. And again, I'm just sort of lifting this up the edge, and I'm going to kind of tuck this underneath so it sticks out. But I didn't want to add a lot of adhesive to the actual pine boughs themselves because I like when they sort of lift off the front. I think that looks really neat. In fact, I think I'm going to take a small dimensional, just a tiny one, and I'm going to put it behind this pine cone just to kind of have it lift a little bit more. Sometimes when I make these cards and I'm building the little clusters, I fuss with them a little bit until I get them how I want them, you know. There we go. And then this looks really pretty right here. And then what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of texture by including a linen thread bow. So I'm just going to tie this little bow. And of course, I left my glue dots in the other room. So what I'm going to do is just to add a little bit of adhesive with my tape runner, because this Seal Plus comes off in little tiny strips, and so it's perfect for adding these little bows. And I'm just going to put it right here where the 2 pine cones come together. I'm just going to layer it on right there. And this will add a little bit of extra texture to my design, as you can see. And now to sparkle this up and make it a little bit more festive, I thought I could add a couple of different things. I could add some of these, certainly, in any of the colors really, but the clear or the red would probably be the most festive. And then, but then I was also thinking, we have these brand new gold shaker stars that are new to the holiday catalog. And so I thought maybe I would use some of these just to kind of dazzle this up in gold, because I always love to add a touch of gold on a Christmas card. So for this, I'm just going to take my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to put a couple of little dots of liquid glue, and I'll put one down here. So 3 little dots of glue with my Tombow. And then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to pick up some of these stars and place them down right on my project. And these stars are in a few different sizes. Some of them are hollow, like they're just like an outline of a star. but I'm going to add the actual full stars, the solid ones. Just like that. And that adds just a touch of shine and sparkle and keeps that whole natural look of the card going. So what do you think? That's a clean and simple card design for Christmas. Very easy to do. It would just require a bunch of die cutting, of course, up front so that you have all the pieces you need. But then assembling them is very, very quick. And then I could always add warm winter wishes on the inside of this card just to finish it off. So go ahead and pull that. Warm winter wishes. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of pine. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my Mossy Meadow ink pad. I'm going to ink up the pine there and just stamp this on the inside of the card, just like that. And then I'm going to take the sentiment and add that to the block. And I'm going to use the black ink for that because I used black ink on the front. So I'll keep this the same. And I'll add this sentiment to the inside. There we go, warmest wishes, warmest winter wishes. And there it is, that's the finished card for today. So here's the other one that I made, like the sample. So you can see both of them. I think they're really, really beautiful. I want to show you a few other cards that I made though too. Just so you can see some of the variety. So as I mentioned, the paper can really be the star of the show. So in this card, I took a panel of the Designer Series paper with the snowflakes, and I layered it with white just to set it off a little bit from the base. It gives it an extra layer, it looks a little bit more finished. Then I cut a panel, a little die cut panel, and I added Warm Winter Wishes as the sentiment for that one. And then I cut a couple of those sprigs and just tucked them underneath, kind of on the diagonal, and added some of those little red stars that are part of the embellishments. These are the embellishments for this particular collection. And I really like how it came out. I added a little snowflake to the inside. I think it's really pretty. So there's this one. I also enjoyed using just the dies. So here I embossed a white panel, layered it onto Mossy Meadow, and then added it to a old olive card base. And then I found some paper. This is the pear paper. There's some pear paper that we have that was an online exclusive last time they were released. And I added a little, because it's the Mossy Meadow color, I added a layer of that. It looks really, really pretty on the inside. And then I die cut some more of the sprigs. And there's also a berry die cut in there. So I die cut some berries and added those with a little bit of twine and just decided to leave it at that. And then this card is the last one that I made while I was playing with these products. This one is a little fun fold, so it's got like a mini card on the front. It's just a single panel with a mini card on the front. And again, I used some more of that gorgeous Designer Series paper. I stamped and die cut this beautiful layered snowflake, added a little star embellishment in the center, and a little banner across the front with the sentiment. Then I added Warmest Wishes on the inside, and put another little sprig just to kind of pull the sprigs from the paper. So this was such a fun, this is such a fun collection of product. I know I'm gonna have a ball with this all winter long. I can totally see myself doing scrapbook pages with this as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little demonstration today and a closer look at the Elegant Pine Snowflake collection. This is something that you'll be able to add to your wish list or your shopping list on Wednesday, September 3rd, when it's released as part of the new online exclusives. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you soon.